Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k Tyranids. Today we've got another bite-sized review for you, and this time we're looking at one of the flyers in the Tyranid Codex, which is the Harpy. So if you were to purchase this model, it's £52.50 in the UK or $85 in the US, but this will of course be increasing from March the 6th with their price increase from Games Workshop. Now you're going to also get 3 spore mines within the box, and you've got the option of building this as a Hive clone rather than a Harpy if you wanted to, which is the other Tyranid flyer. Right, so let's move on to the actual datasheet. So it's coming in at 175 points, the movement is minimum 15 inches, right up to 40 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill is a 3+, strength 6, toughness 7, wounds 13, attacks 4, leadership 8 and a 3+ armor save. Now this does have a degrading stat line, so once between 6 and 4 wounds you're going to only have 30 inches of movement, and the weapon skill and ballistic skill will be a 4+, and if you go down to 3 wounds or less, the movement goes right down to 20 inches and the weapon skill and ballistic skill drop down to a 5+. So that's the statistics. As for the keywords, well, it's a monster, it's an aircraft, and of course it has the fly keyword, along with all the other Tyranid keywords such as Hive Tendril and whatnot. So let's check out some of the equipment that you're going to get when you're taking a Harpy. Well, it comes stock with the Stinger salvos and 2 Stranglethorn cannons along with the Scything wings. So first we'll go through those 3 weapons before we get onto the upgrades. So the Stinger salvos, 24-inch range, assault 8, strength 5, -1 AP and 1 damage. So a nice anti-light infantry killer there. You're likely wounding on a 3+, -1 AP is likely all you really need, and 1 damage against 1 wound models is absolutely perfect. Now you've got 8 shots with this, so you should be doing a little bit of work on those light infantry models. Now as for the 2 Stranglethorn cannons, well these are 36-inch range, so you've got a little bit more scope with these, and each one is heavy D3 plus 3 shots. So an average of 5 shots per Stranglethorn cannon, so an average of 10 there, but you do have the potential of getting 12 shots if you roll these nicely. Of course there's also the potential of getting only 8 shots. So these are a heavy weapon, strength 8, -2 AP and 2 damage, and they've got the blast keyword. Now the blast keyword in this situation I'm not as bothered about, because in our turn, if we are going to be charging other aircraft models, we're still getting the shooting phase before the fight phase actually happens, and in your opponent's turn you're not going to be shooting anyway. It's only when it's your turn again, but you can just fly out because you're an aircraft. So the blast ability is actually a bonus in this situation, whereas a lot of the times with vehicle models in particular, they get penned down and it's actually a problem. Then we come on to the Scything wings, which is our melee weapon. We've only got 4 attacks with it. Strength user, so that's strength 6, -2 AP and 2 damage. But let's get onto the war gear options before we do get onto the abilities, and that is that you can swap out your 2 Stranglethorn cannons and replace them with 2 heavy venom cannons. Now heavy venom cannons are absolutely fantastic at the moment, and this is what they're going to do. So the 30 points per heavy venom cannon, they're 36-inch range, so the exact same in terms of range there. Heavy 3 per cannon, so you're going to get your 6 shots. Strength 9, -3 AP and 4 damage. So plenty of strength, plenty of AP, plenty of damage. What more could you ask for? So that's the war gear all dealt with. Let's get on to those abilities, starting off with the Spore Mine Cysts. Now part of this ability has been nerfed, we're going to get onto that. So once per turn, after the model has moved in your movement phase, you can select 1 unit that is moved over, or 1 point on the battlefield it moved across. So if you select a unit, you roll 6 dice for each vehicle or monster in that unit, and then you also roll 1 dice for each other enemy model in the unit to a maximum of 10 dice. Now you then roll them, and on a 4+ for each of them, the unit's going to suffer a mortal wound. Now that one hasn't been changed, it still is as it is. Yeah, it's not too bad, it can do a bit of work. But the second bullet point here, if you select a point on the battlefield, you set up a new friendly Spore Mines unit with 3 models, not within 6 inches of enemy models, and you have to be within 1 inch of a selected point. Now of course we do have to pay reinforcements points for Spore Mines now, we can't just create them for free, so this one has massively been nerfed. The second ability is the Airborne Predator ability, which has a buff to it, but it also has a nerf to it. So first of all, each time you declare a charge with this model, you can only select aircraft units as targets of that charge. Even models that have got the fly keyword, you can't charge them because they've not got the aircraft keyword. They must have the aircraft keyword in order to charge them. Now as for being charged, we can only be charged by units that have got the fly keyword, and we can also only be in engagement range of units with the fly keyword, and thus make melee attacks against units with the fly keyword. So we can actually be charged with units that have got fly, and we can fight them back if we didn't make that charge move. Yes, it's kind of good in some aspects. We have a melee defense against units that are on the ground, but as Tyranids ourselves, we cannot actually charge unless they've got the aircraft keyword. Now bear that point in mind, because in a minute that's going to all change. Next we've got the maneuverable ability. So each time you make a normal move, advanced move or fallback move, you first pivot 90 degrees and then go in a straight line, and then you can do another 90-degree pivot because we are manoeuvrable. Now you can do that at any point in the move, so you've almost got a double pivot with this ability. Now it's also got the hard to hit ability, so it's a -1 to hit from your attacker's hit rolls at range, so another nice defense being up in the air there. And it's also got the hover ability. This is the one I was waiting for, so in the command phase, this model can select to hover. If it does so, then until your next command phase, your move characteristic becomes only 15 inches. You also lose the airborne predator ability, the hard to hit ability, and the maneuverable abilities. So you can all of a sudden start charging standard units, but you're not going to be at a -1 to hit anymore because of the hover ability. And then finally with the Death Rose ability, when your model gets destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing it from play. On a 6+, the closest eligible unit within 6 inches suffers d3 mortal wounds. So a monster explosion there. Sometimes comes in handy, particularly with flyers, because you can actually get them into enemy backlines before going bang. Okay, so that's the abilities. As for the adaptive physiologies that the monsters can take, let's go through some of these options. So the first one being Dermic Symbiosis for 25 points for the 4+ invulnerable save. You've probably got better options within your list with monsters to take the 4+ on, so I probably wouldn't take this on Harpy if I'm honest with you. But if you didn't have any other monsters, then yeah, potentially for 25 points you can have this one on. Now Enraged Reserves for 25 points as well. This doubles your wounds characteristics for the purpose of being bracketed for the damage table, and also you get a 1 use per battle item, which is one of your epic deed stratagems will be free of charge. So we've got the Trampling Charge as our epic deed stratagem, which can be used on a Hive Tendril monster. Once it's finished its charge move, select an enemy unit within engagement range of a monster, roll a d6. So let's skip down to the second point. If the monster does not have the Haunted in the keyword, then on a 2, 3 or 4, that enemy unit is going to suffer d3 mortal wounds, and on a 5+, the enemy unit suffers 3 mortal wounds. So once per battle you could do that. I probably wouldn't take that if I'm honest with you. 25 points to throw out d3 mortal wounds, yeah, that one's not for me. Hardened Biology for 15 points. All damage 1 weapons are going to give you a 2+ armor save. It's not too bad, don't get me wrong, could be better. Or the Precognitive Sensoria, which is the Fight First ability. Now this thing's more of a shooter unit, not so much a fighting unit. Again, I would leave that one behind. Predator Instincts for 15 points, gives you Heroic Intervention within 6 inches. Yeah, I'm not really looking at that, unless you're in hover mode for most of the game. That's not going to be that useful. And Synaptic Enhancement. Okay, you gain Synapse, and you also gain Shadow of the Warp. So that could be quite useful when you're pairing it with the Leviathan Hive Fleet, because now it's going to be a 4+ just a wound Harpy because of the Leviathan ability when linked with Synapse monsters. Ferocious Ammunition for d3 extra mortal wounds to units that were already hit at range. Yeah, that's not too bad. Out of all of them, that's probably one of the better ones for Harpy. And the final one, which is Whipcore Reflexes, you just don't need it, don't worry about it. Okay, so let's talk about some Hive Fleets before we get into our summary of the video and our Planet 40k rating. So first I want to talk about the Leviathan Hive Fleet. I have already mentioned them in this video before. You're going to get that mini transhuman on this flyer. Now it's not currently got Synapse unless you're putting that Synaptic Enhancement on, but as standard it can't be wounded on a 2+, which only really applies to strength 14+ weapons. So that one's very situational, and yeah, I probably wouldn't actually count on it to be honest with you. But what you also get is a single reroll to hit, which can have really good value with your heavy venom cannons in particular. But the Kronos Hive Fleet for me is the best one. For a shooter unit in particular, you're going to get a +4 inches to your range capabilities of all your weapons, and an extra -1 AP if you're firing at half range. So the heavy venom cannons go to -4 AP, that takes away most armor saves unless they start on a 2+ or an invuln save, and even the Stinger Salvos can go to -2 AP, or the Stranglethorn Cannons -3 AP. Nice. In fact, we need to talk about some stratagems of note before we do get into the ending of the video. The Ferocious Appetite stratagem for 1 command point to be able to reroll your wound rolls in melee. Yeah, I probably won't use that one. You've only got 4 attacks and you're only charging aircrafts, but if you wanted to have that one up your sleeve, you've got it. Also, there's the Indomitable Monstrosity for 1 command point. This basically does give you the transhuman physiology now. You can't be wounded on less than a 4+. So if you aren't taking Leviathan, or if you haven't got that Synaptic Enhancement, it's only 1 command point and you can have it anyway. Now the Trampling Charge we've actually already mentioned in this video already, so I'm not going to go through that again. And then finally the Pathogenic Slime stratagem for, it's going to be 2 command points because we do not have Toxin Sacs with the Harpy, but when you are selecting a target to shoot, any unmodified hit rolls of a 6 automatically wound the target. That's going to be really useful for Stinger Salvos, as well as your Stranglethorn Cannons with lots of shots there. Right, let's summarise Harpy, getting onto the pros. First of all, very good with the speed, 40 inches of movement. He can deep strike because he's an aircraft model. In fact, aircraft models can move in and out of reserves as they please. They've got the option of hover mode, which will assist with their movement as well as their charge movement, which we'll get onto in a moment. If we're doing a direct attack with spore mines, they are free and they're going to deal mortal wounds. Harpy in general is just very good at range. He's got a lot of range weapons and got the option of 2 heavy venom cannons, and also because it's a monster, you've got the option of the adaptive physiologies. As for the cons, well, it's got the degrading stat line, of course. It's got more than 10 wounds. The spore mines, they're now costing us reinforcement points, so part of the spore stability has been nerfed. Aircrafts are not going to be holding you any objectives, so that's your primaries out the window. You've got the restrictions to movement. Okay, it has got the double pivot, but you're still restricted to the minimum movement as well as the double 90-degree pivot there. You can only charge other aircraft models while you are airborne, and finally you can't score behind enemy lines or engage on all fronts because it's an aircraft. So for the Planet 40k rating today for Harpy, I'm going to go with the Planet 40k rating of 3 stars. So guys, that is the end of the bite-sized review today. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like the video on your exits. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.